All right, everyone. Welcome back to Crash Course Apologetics. This time, it's a little bit different. This time, it's only me tonight. I wanted to give you all some exciting news about this milestone that we reached and what the plan is going forward from here. I've got some really cool ideas that I want to run by you all, the fans, and see what you think. So let me just wait 30 more seconds and see if anybody else jumps in here before I start talking. I see that Finding Truth is with us. Hey there, Finding Truth. And Frank Christian, he's a regular. Thank you, Frank, for watching. Jared Nunley, high school friend of mine. Thanks for watching, Jared. Tim Saunders, that's my brother-in-law. Hey, Tim. So we've got several watching. Well, I want to keep this whole thing to about 30 minutes. I'm not going to make it my hour and a half long interviews or anything like that. So I just want to keep this to about 30 minutes. The plan is for me to tell you a little bit of my background and how I got into apologetics, how this channel started first. Take about 15 minutes to do that. And then maybe the last 10 or 15 minutes, let you all ask me questions. If you have a question about something I've said tonight, ask, or something else. Hey, Faithful Apologetics, that's my friend Chan. Chan Arnett, if you are watching, please go and like Chan's Facebook page, Faithful Apologetics. He's got an awesome website. Take advantage of it. Chan actually lives in Kentucky like me. So really exciting to get to know him. We recently connected and he does great work. Finding Truth, you said that Liz Jackson sent a link to one of your videos, or one of my videos. Awesome. Yeah, Liz and I have become good friends. She's brilliant, especially when it comes to Pascal's Wager. And I've had her on my channel several times now. Every time I have her on the channel, the video does well. People, I think, really connect with what she says. So, all right. Well, I want to go ahead and jump into this. I wanted to give, it looks like we got about 8 people watching right now. Hopefully more pop in. So, obviously, you know, my name's Jordan. Let me give you a little bit of a backstory here about how I got into all this. So, I ended up going to the University of Kentucky after high school, and within the first semester of me being there, there was a really interesting event that really defined. It was like a defining moment for me, and sent me on this trajectory. So I was going to UK. It was the first semester there. I think it was like in October maybe. And I go back home to visit my family on the weekend. And I think I made it back home on a Friday night. And my friend Euless Lingar from high school, I ran into him at that football game. And he raised some interesting questions to me that he had heard. He was going to a different university than me, but he raised some interesting questions, and I didn't know how to answer them at the time. And so I was like, "Wow, you know, those are good questions, and I'm not totally sure how to answer that." And I felt a little embarrassed that I, didn't have better answers. I think he asked me something as simple as, Jordan, why do you think that God exists? And it wasn't even necessarily that he was, he didn't believe or something like that. He was just asking me, can you help me understand this? What is it that you think leads you to believe that God exists? And I just didn't have really any reason to think that. I guess what I tell people now is, it just always seemed pretty obvious to me. I look around and it looks like, there had to be some kind of mind that was behind all this, some kind of God that was powerful enough to make all this. And that was about as far as it went for me. But I left that conversation just really unsatisfied, and thought, geez, I need to think more about why I believe this. Well, time went on, and I kind of just pushed all that stuff to the back burner. I was more interested at the time in just enjoying college. I met a really good friend, my roommate Alex Saunders, and we had lots of fun, got into lots of movies and TV shows, and hung out with friends, and all that was exciting. On top of just, I was enjoying my classes and so forth. But 2 years went by, so it was the summer between my sophomore and junior year of college, and I, at that point, I had just become pretty miserable. I felt like I was doing the things that people normally tell you, like this is what's really fun in life, and this is what's going to make you feel really satisfied and really happy. And I just didn't. Those things just ended up making me miserable. And I was like, geez, there's got to be something more than this stuff that I have now. So I went home that summer, and my brother invited me to begin doing like a little devotion, reading a passage of scripture and just kind of reflecting on it and talking about it together. And when he did that, my gut reaction was to say, no way. I think that was because that reaction in me was probably the result of me not wanting to change. Even though I wanted to change, I didn't want to give up certain things that I was doing. And but I ended up agreeing, and so we began reading some of John Piper's book called Don't Waste Your Life. And that book just resonated with what I was feeling. It was like he was reading my mind. And the biggest epiphany I had, and I'll kind of speed this along because I know you guys are interested too in how I got to this channel, or how this channel came about. But the biggest epiphany I had in reading that book was what John Piper, he has this little saying that is easy to remember, and that is that God is most glorified in you when you are most satisfied in Him. And that just, when I heard that, it was like a light bulb went on. And I was like, wow, I'm seeking pleasure, and I'm seeking fulfillment in this life. And I've looked for it in this and that, and it's just not satisfied me. And I just want something that will truly satisfy me. And so when I heard that, I was like, wow, it's never actually occurred to me that the one thing that can actually satisfy all these hungers that I have is God Himself. And I didn't actually believe that at first. I was like, that sounds amazing, but is it really true? And so I began to pray and just ask God, if you really can be that good and that satisfying to me, then please reveal that to me. That's something I want to know. I want you, if that's the way you really are, I want to be satisfied by you like that. And after probably a month of a lot of time spent in prayer and a lot of time reading scripture and reflecting on God's goodness, and that it's just taught all throughout Scripture that He is supposed to be this treasure that satisfies you. I ended up giving my life to Christ that summer, and had this just really powerful experience of God's presence in that moment. It's something that to this day it was just really, really powerful. And I know not everyone has that kind of experience, but for me it was very, very deep, and that has sustained me in many times through seasons of doubt and questions and so forth. So, moving the story along, though, what ended up happening was pretty much, I think it was the same day, if I'm not mistaken, like the same day that I give my life to Christ and have this incredibly deep experience. I felt like God put it on my mind, brought back to memory that encounter that I had with my friend from high school, Euless. And he said, it felt like God said to me, hey, you remember that conversation, and you just didn't really have answers for your friend at that point. You really need to devote yourself to studying more and taking these kinds of questions seriously more. And so that's what I did. And one of the first people, I think this is the case probably for many people that are interested in apologetics, is I began reading Lee Strobel, The Case for Christ, The Case for the Creator. And the thing that I love about Lee Strobel is that he introduces you to all these different Christian scholars. And so I was learning about like William Lane Craig and Robin Collins and Craig Blomberg and Gary Habermas and all these guys, just from reading these chapters in the book. And so what would happen is, once I found out about somebody new, I would go and I would read what that guy wrote. So I found out about William Lane Craig, and I went and started reading On Guard, and found out about Gary Habermas and started reading The Case for the Resurrection. And this just went on. And when you read those guys, they reference other people, so you go and read them, and pretty soon you have this like chain of philosophers, biblical scholars, and so on. And so that's what I did for several years. You may wonder how old I am. I'm 27. Yes, 27. Turned 27 back in March. So, and I dedicated my life to Christ back in when I was 20. So I've been a Christian now for 7 years. And so this whole time I've just been doing that, reading, studying, and so on. Hey, Liz, I see that you're in the live chat. Wow, see, Chan, Faithful Apologetics, he says that he started... Oh, I'm sorry. I thought I read that wrong, Chan. I thought you said that you started with Reasonable Faith. See, Reasonable Faith would have just completely left me speechless. I wouldn't know where to begin if I would have started with Reasonable Faith. I needed smaller steps to begin with to work my way up. And On Guard was perfect for that. Though On Guard wasn't the first book that I read. Maybe somebody can ask in the live chat. Even before the Strobel books, there was a book that I read. So I'll keep you in suspense if somebody wants to ask what that is. Anyway, so what ended up happening was, I guess this was maybe 2 years ago now. I found out about Cameron Bertuzzi from Capturing Christianity. And he has a blog called Capturing Christianity, and also a YouTube channel called Capturing Christianity. And anyway, I found out about Cameron, and I started, reading his blogs, and at the time he had just some videos on YouTube. He wasn't like doing YouTube really at all at the time. And he put a post up on Facebook that was like, hey, I could really use someone's help answering questions that people submit to me on Facebook. because he was like, I don't have time to answer them all. People are writing in a lot. And so if somebody wants to volunteer, I'd be really grateful. So I messaged him and said, here's who I am. I'd be happy to do it. And so that's what I did for a while. People would write in questions and I would answer them to the best of my ability anyway. And that's how Cameron and I became friends with one another. And what ended up happening was this whole time I'm like, man, I love apologetics. I really wish that, all this stuff that I'm learning, I could get out somehow, because I feel like it's just staying like locked up in my head. I don't really have a good outlet for it. And I mean, I enjoy helping people because that's what I was doing for Cam, and I was trying to answer these people's questions. So what I ended up doing, I was listening to one of Cameron's videos, and one day he's like, look, there are not very many apologetic ministries on YouTube right now, and YouTube's just very rampant with outspoken atheists who are like constantly attacking Christianity, many times misrepresenting it. And so he was like, maybe you should consider either helping my ministry to reach more people, or perhaps even, if you're feeling called to it, start your own. And so I prayed about that, and I felt like, yeah, this is something that I think I could do. And at the time, I had started a YouTube channel the year prior and only put up one video. And so that video you can find, it's my very first one, and it's about eternal security. I take like a Molinist view on that. And anyway, I put up that video and I never even looked at it again. And when I decided, yeah, I'll start this YouTube channel, I logged back in because I hadn't even been logged into that channel. And I saw that I had 14 subscribers just from that one video. And I was like, wow, I made one video and got 14 subscribers. To me, that was big. And I was like, maybe I can do this. So I just kind of used that as a little confidence boost. And at the time, I was reading this Taking Pascal's Wager book, and I thought, this book's a really good one to start with because it kind of makes this cumulative case. And what I like about it is it doesn't present maybe like the same arguments that you hear William Lane Craig presenting, or at least if it does present similar arguments, it's not the same version. And so it'll introduce people to like more philosophers, more theologians, and so forth. So I thought that's what I would like this channel to be about, is if if you're used to kind of what you read in the Strobel books or the Craig books, and you want to branch out from that, not to dismiss those guys, but you want to hear what other philosophers are doing and what other biblical scholars are talking about, I thought my channel would be a good place to come for that. I want to make it like a Cliff Notes version of all these books, because I've got these bookshelves full of books and I just can't read them all. And I'm sure other people have a similar problem, so I'll just be like the Cliff Notes version that they can listen to these videos and so on. So anyway, moving the story along here, I put up the first 3 Pascal Wager videos, and by the time I reached the third one, I was, I wasn't getting like a whole lot of views on them, and so I thought maybe I should try and like reach out to certain people. And so I was a little too shy to reach out to Cameron at that point. And so I reached out to my friend Stephen Worthy, who runs Standardized Apologetics YouTube channel. And I think at the time he had like either somewhere between 1,000 and 2,000 subscribers. Maybe he did have 2. I can't remember. But to me, that was like really big. And I was like, okay, I'll reach out to Stephen first. So Stephen was the nicest guy. I sent him a message. He responded to me the same day, and he was like, hey, call me because I want to talk to you. And he called me up on the phone, and he was just so generous with his time, and I just really appreciated it. He gave me this list of things that he thought I did really well, and this list of things that he thought I could improve on. And so that's what I I took those notes that he gave me, and then I started trying to improve in those ways. So like one of those that was funny looking back on it, maybe I slipped up and did it in this video. I made a mistake in this video. He told me, Jordan, your head in the very first video is like down near the bottom of the screen. He's like, you really need to get closer to the camera and have your head up near the top of the screen. And I was like, wow, that's so simple. But yeah, that's definitely something I should do. It was just things like that. Some of it had to do with the content, but some not. And anyway, Stephen was the first guy that really helped me out. The second guy that I'm really appreciative of is Blake Junta. So I became friends with Blake on Facebook, and I didn't even send him my videos. I just like added him as a friend, and he commented to me and said, you're doing like really good work. This is like top notch. The animations are great. The way that you're summarizing it is great. And he said, I will help you promote your videos. And so Blake runs the website Belief Map. And I was like, I knew he had been on Justin Brierly's show Unbelievable. And I was like, wow, Blake is like a really, popular. He's got many thousands of views on YouTube with debates with Matt Dillahunty and so on. And I was like, this is awesome that somebody of that caliber would say that I'm doing a good job. And so he was kind enough. He shared my video with Michael Jones and Cameron Bertuzzi. And Michael runs Inspiring Philosophy and has like 130,000 subscribers right now. He's a really big apologetics channel. And so Michael shared my video once he watched it, and then that really helped my subscribers jump. And then Cameron, if not that time, shortly after, started sharing my videos. And at this point, Cameron's really helped grow my channel a lot, because he's shared videos both on YouTube and on his Facebook page. And every time he does, I get many subscribers. So I'm really thankful for him and all these guys. Another one that I'll mention, another two, just because I really want to pay my respects to these guys. They helped me out a lot. One of them was Kurt Jarris. So he invited me on to his podcast, a popular apologetics podcast called Veracity Hill. And that helped give me a boost in getting this channel out to more people. And another one was Mike Winger. He's got like 120,000 subscribers or something like that too on YouTube. And so he saw my videos and has actually promoted them and shared them out on his channel. I know he really likes Liz Jackson's work on Pascal's Wager. And so Mike, every time I do an interview with her, he often shares it one way or another. And so I just want to say to these guys, I don't know if they're watching now or if they'll see it later, but if you are watching, I just really appreciate you guys, because I was nowhere, nobody knew who I was, and I didn't really have a good plan for growing, and just through your generosity and giving me feedback and sharing it with your audience, you've helped me grow a lot. And so that, I think, is how I've been able to reach 1,000 subscribers within a year. That was a big goal, I felt like, to reach 1,000 in a year, but that's the goal that I had in mind, and I'm so happy that I was able to reach it, and I'm thankful to God that I was able to reach it. Okay, well, I went on longer than I said, but that's basically the story of kind of how I got into apologetics and how this channel came about. So I'll take 10 or 15 minutes and check out your questions here. Let's see. So I see that some people were commenting about John Piper was an influence for them too. Yeah. Diane Higo says that she found me through David Wood, she thinks. That's interesting, because I've actually never to my knowledge, I don't think David. I haven't been aware that he knows who I am or seen my videos or anything. But if he does, that's cool. I'm really glad that he shared it if he did. So let's see. Okay, Liz, this is the first question I see. So Liz asked, do you talk about apologetics with your students? I don't, because where I teach in a public school, there's limitations on what I can and can't say, and they are some of my students, not because I advertised it. This has happened on several occasions. I don't know how this happens. They show up at school one day and they say, "Hey, I saw you on YouTube," and I'm thinking, I didn't tell you about my YouTube channel or anything like that. Somehow they find it, and so they may bring up something or something like that, and I'm usually, like I said, I'm aware of what I can and can't say, but I'm just like, hey, I'm glad you know my channel, and there's been a couple times that I've said like, I think I've made a video about the kind of thing you're asking about, and I just more or less point them to the video. So that's been the kind of role there. Let's see. Who else? Faithful Academics asked, what was the hardest video series you made? Well, I've only made this one series on Pascal's Wager, based on Michael Rhoda's book, which leads me to something else they may ask, and that is, what am I going to do next? So I'll go ahead and share that with you. What I plan to do next is, unless I change my mind, Andrew Moon talked me into this, and I'd been thinking about it already. And if you're aware, so Andrew Moon, I'm going to be interviewing him tomorrow. He's a philosopher, and who specializes in epistemology, how we know things. And anyway, he said, hey, you should really think about, when this series is over, doing philosophical foundations for a Christian worldview. And as you can see, this is a tome. So if I did this would be a real labor of love. And it wouldn't be able to be done in a year. I don't think so. It took me a year to do Rhoda's book. Now, I've gotten faster at the editing and things like that, so I think I can pick up the pace in that regard. But this is a big book, so this would take a while. But I think I'm going to do it. I think this is going to be the next book that I go topic by topic through. But that isn't to say that the only videos I'm going to make is going to be about the book. I think I'll have a running playlist where I do videos on this, but I'll cover kind of like one-off topics as well. I've got several in mind for that. Okay, so let's see. Liz says, is that your new video recording background? Yes, so the story is, my office was downstairs, and we needed more space because my son, Shiloh, needs a playroom downstairs. Right now, it's just toys everywhere in the living room. So my wife said, why don't we make your office move up to the guest room, and you can do it in there. And I'm always trying to come up with things that, look better. And so I invested in some cheap lights and these little light filters like this. And that's what you're seeing in the background there. Anything to kind of make it look a little bit better. Let's see. Maybe it was someone through Acts 17. Liz Jack. Diane Higo said, "Do you have to have training? From what stream?" So I didn't have any training in terms of video stuff or anything like that. I just watched YouTube videos on, how to, what camera to use that's cheap. Because everything I have, I try to spend minimal money on. So I have a webcam that cost me about $90, which in terms of a high quality camera is a really good price. This microphone cost me $30. Those were the two big investments, honestly. And then, it cost me for the films and the lights back there probably $50. So anyway, I didn't spend a ton of money or anything, but I tried to make it look good. So I didn't have training, and the thing that I'm streaming with right now is called Ecamm Live, which I'll come back to near the end here. Okay. Finding Truth said, "CCA, what topics interest you the most?" Good question. So I love biblical scholarship. I love philosophy, but between those two kind of realms, I like philosophy more. Specifically, I think I like philosophical theology the most. Like when systematic theology kind of meets philosophy or analytic theology, whatever you want to call it. I like that kind of realm the most. And specifically, the thing that I'm super interested in right now is I'm good friends with a moral nihilist. So they believe that there is no right or wrong. Not to say that they're not a good person, they're an awesome person. But they don't think moral facts exist. And so because of that kind of dialogue that I've had with my friend, it prompted me to get into a kind of moral philosophy. And so that's the topic I'm most interested in right now, is crafting a kind of moral argument that is very robust. I like William Lane Craig a lot. I don't necessarily like his version of the moral argument. I don't think that it's the best version available. I think it can be strengthened. Unfortunately, I haven't seen, to my satisfaction, a moral argument that's very robust put forward on YouTube. So I would like to kind of, in the future, make a playlist, and I'm studying really hard right now that topic so that I can make a playlist in the future on the moral argument. Let's see. Faithful Apologetics. What topic do you think you are the least prepared to answer questions about? There's so many. I mean, this is something that I've become very aware of through my interactions from these interviews. I get to know these philosophers or theologians, biblical scholars, whatever, and as I get to know them, it just becomes abundantly clear that I know a speck of what they know. And so I just become increasingly aware that, I wonder how fit am I to do this kind of channel. The skill that I think I bring to the table is I can serve as a kind of translator from the very complex thoughts in the minds of these philosophers and complex arguments, and I try to simplify without making them simplistic. I still want to accurately capture what they're saying, but I try to put it as concisely and clear to the layman as I possibly can. So that's the thing I think I do bring to the table. But in terms of the knowledge itself, I'm aware that I need to beef up on a lot of topics. Just the other day, my good friend, we're getting to know each other better. I definitely would consider him a friend. Is Joe Schmid. He's an agnostic who has his own YouTube channel. Love that guy. Super respectful, so nice, and he watches my videos and pushes back. And my most recent one on divine hiddenness and the problem of evil, he pushed back on some of the things in there. And he asked good questions, some about animal suffering, particularly through the evolutionary process, if God used that process. And so I'm working through that now. So anyway, that's something that if you pressed me on, I have some ideas of what options are out there, but I want to know them better. So Liz said, what's your goal for the future of this channel? Focusing on interviews or videos that summarize literature, or both equally, or something else? Well, I'm glad you asked that. So now that I've hit 1,000 subscribers, YouTube gives you this feature where I can interact with my subscribers in YouTube. So like I can post polls. I can take a poll on like what the topic of my next video will be, and you can vote, and then that's what I do. And so I kind of want to get a feel for what my subscribers are wanting. Right now, my idea is to try and keep it pretty equal. The reason that I did so many interviews and didn't make as many Pascal Wager videos is because when it's during the school year, it's difficult for me because I'm a full-time teacher. It's difficult for me to make these animated videos. That takes a lot more work as opposed to doing the interviews where I read a paper, come up with some questions, then we set up a time to talk. Not as much, it doesn't take as much like work to do these interviews as it does to make the videos. But my goal going forward right now is to try and do them about evenly, unless my viewers are like, hey, we don't like the interviews, we just want more of this. Or if they're like, we want more interviews, dump the standalone videos. I'll definitely listen and see what people prefer. When will Liz Jackson be back on the channel? Alex W says. So I guess that's up to Liz. I'm pretty much open anytime. I think she's got this really interesting paper about hope, if I remember correctly. I haven't gotten a chance to read it, but I saw that she posted that it was published recently, I think. And so I was the topic sounded really interesting, and so I think I'd like to have her back on for that. Let's see. Alex W., you just subscribed to my channel. Thank you. I see that. Thank you very much. Let's see. Marie Kitzer, maybe, is how you say it. I'm not sure. Said, how often do you shave your beard? So I just shaved it completely off. I was like clean face, and I didn't make a video for like 2 weeks, and so nobody saw my clean face. But I did it during this quarantine. But I probably shave about every week and a half, my head and trim my beard. Let's see. What's your favorite book of the Bible? I don't think I have one. I change my I go through different stages of life just like everybody else, and sometimes one particular book is more applicable to me, speaks to me more clearly than others. What I'm doing right now in terms of Bible study, so I just went through the entire book of Jeremiah, and my Bible study looks different, but generally I read a chapter a day, and I may or may not, depending on how clear that chapter is, reference a commentary, but I try my best to reflect on that chapter at the very least, and pray. So, but the thing that I'm doing right now in terms of Bible study is I'm trying to master Michael Heiser's Unseen Realm stuff. So I read most of that book, and that was a while back, and so I'm going back through it and studying the passages that he references as I come along. I find that stuff fascinating, and I think it illuminates like the whole meta-narrative of Scripture is why I'm doing it. Finding Truth said, what kind of webcam do you have? I have a Logitech C920. Logitech C920. Like I said, I think it was like $90 when I got it off of Amazon. And I think it's a good quality camera for that price. That's difficult to beat for this quality. Let's see. Are you confessional? What kind of church do you attend? I attend an Assemblies of God. I guess it means on what you mean by confessional. So, I mean, I definitely consider myself a Christian. I don't necessarily consider myself ascribing to a particular set of doctrinal beliefs for any particular denomination. Certainly, I would affirm core beliefs, essential to Christianity, certainly. But I don't know that any one denomination captures the things that I believe. And I mean, I'm still working out a lot of stuff. So anyway, Liz said the moral knowledge argument is better than Craig's version. I agree. I really like the moral knowledge argument a lot. So probably want to do an interview at some point on that topic with someone. I haven't done that yet. Marique Kitzer asked, would you ever debate someone on YouTube? Right now, my answer is yes, but it's a qualified yes. One qualification that I would make is it would have to be written. Cameron Bertuzzi did this, and I loved this idea. So he and Justin Schieber, who runs Real Atheology, did a debate. But it was all written out ahead of time. And then they got on and they read their back and forth. And the reason that I say that I would want it in writing is what I have found to be the case is when it's not in writing ahead of time, usually the person with the best rhetoric wins, not the best ideas. Now, it could be the case that the person has the best ideas and the best rhetoric. And if so, power to you. But I'm more interested in the content rather than your eloquence in speech or how, confident you can sound. So I would do it, but I would want it to be in writing when both of us have time to really thoroughly inspect what each other say and then come up with our best response. A lot of times when in these live settings, you're just talking off the top of your head, and at least speaking for myself, the stuff that's coming off the top of my head may or may not, more than likely than not, isn't the best that I can come up with. So I much prefer, because it just seems better to me to do these things in writing when you have more time to really put your thoughts together as best you can for both people. So I would be interested in doing that. The other qualification would be it would depend on time constraints, so I'm trying to summarize this big tome, and do these interviews, and before every interview I read like an academic paper. And so I have a 8-month-old, life's busy. So I don't always have time to, devote a huge portion to some kind of debate. So the time would have to be right for me. And like I said, it would need to be in writing. We could come on YouTube and read it. And I'm good at reading, I try my best to write the way I speak. So, I mean, it would sound like I'm speaking. I don't think it would be monotonous and boring like that. But, all right. Let's see. Oh, Slam RN says that she went to Purdue. Awesome. Just like Joe Schmidt. That's how you came up with that. Diane Higo clarified and said, what I meant was, do you have to be a Christian or do you need a degree to call yourself an apologist? It's definitely a different group of folks than I've experienced in real life church. Well, I don't have a degree in apologetics. I mean, I have my degree is in biotechnology. That's what I got my bachelor's in at UK, and then I got a master's in teaching after that. So I mean, I'm not some kind of certified apologist or something like that. That would be awesome to get a degree someday in philosophy of religion or something. That's a goal of mine. but I don't think you have to do that. What I do say is I think you have to be intellectually honest and you need to study a lot. So, I mean, even though I don't have a degree, like I said, I'm trying my best to still learn the best arguments on both sides to be fair. Let's see. I'll go maybe 5 more minutes and then wrap up with one. If you're still around, I've got one big request from you. And so stick around for that. Let's see. Just a lot of people are making comments. Okay, it looks like I've caught up pretty much with the questions that came in. So, thank you, Diane. All right, so the request that I have for you, one is I just started it like 2 days ago, a Facebook page. You can get on Facebook, follow me at Crash Course Apologetics. Okay, I'm gonna be posting more things there where I can interact with you, and I want to do that. I want to be able to interact with you and get to know you more. The other thing is, this is a request. Do pray for me and this ministry. Pray that God would obviously keep me humble and aware of my limitations, and also give me, the ability to speak clearly and best represent Him, and let this ministry have a real impact on people. So I really do hope that this ministry has impacted you in a positive way, and yeah, so that's one thing that you can do. Another thing is, share my videos, please. If you share them on social media, more people see them. Share my Facebook page. If I make memes, share the memes, whatever, share this content out. And one final thing, and this definitely won't be for everyone, is right now, my wife and I are in a financial situation where it would greatly help me to have some patrons. So I created a Patreon page, and my goal is to get enough patrons to where I can cover the cost that it does to do this YouTube channel from month to month. So like Ecamm Live has a subscription that I have to pay monthly to make the cool animations that I do. It costs money to get those little stick figures and those sorts of things. And so, for the equipment and so forth, it would greatly help if you can give anything, even if it's like $1 a month. I would just like to eventually be able to cover the cost month to month that it takes to do the channel rather than pay out of pocket. But I mean, if I have to continue paying out of pocket, so be it. That's fine. But that's my one final request. If you are in a position to do that, I would greatly appreciate it. If not, that's completely understandable. Just the only thing I ask is that you pray for me and this channel. So, with that said, I guess I'll wrap this up. This went longer than I expected, but I'm really glad that people interacted and asked questions. So, I will wrap it up there. I do have an interview tomorrow night with Dr. Andrew Moon on an objection to Reformed epistemology. So in my last interview, he defended Reformed epistemology, and that's the view that belief in God can be completely rational apart from any kind of arguments. And so he defended that view, and now in this one, we're going to be talking about a specific objection to it that he's written a paper on. So hope to see you tomorrow night, and thank you to everyone who showed up. See ya.